Hey everyone, D-Dub Squizzy here. Welcome back to Civ 3 World War II. Alright, before we do anything, I want us... Let's see here. I literally thought I just turned that off. Hold on. Off. So has this been fixed then? Because I always have to do that too. Okay. Everyone's just gonna wait it out for a turn. So for you guys, because I need someone bombing here. I don't remember having to go through so many of them. Okay. Now then. Let's go ahead and use our infantry. Because I shouldn't need anything stronger. Yeah, you got a 13 defense, same as the Stuarts. And then the ones who just got in. Cut through them. That's it. Prudhoe Bay is ours. Okay. Huge win. Go down here. They'll probably end up setting up a, whatchamacallit. Can you kill that guy too? Thank you. Yeah, let's just have the paratrooper take it. White Horse is ours as well. So now, whether we like it or not, we're seeing where those bad guys go. No improvements at all. My word. So there's a pile there, a pile there, a pile there. This, though, this is in fact almost everything they have. Okay. Well, now that that is done, grab all of our 87Bs, pull them all right here. Because we're gonna need them. I don't think I need any fighters up here, but I'll take a couple, though, just in case. All of them should be able to go there. There we go. And any remaining fighters should be able to go out here. That shouldn't have taken any injured ones. Okay, and then I'm just going to fly all of the 88s in here for now. Yeah, you guys are still going to stay here, because none of you are hurt, right? No, I only got a couple injured planes left, and they're fortified. Cool. So we'll just skip over them. Yeah, you stay in the air. Sure, we'll keep that area locked down. Okay, fly in all of them. All of you go up here for now. You can go there. Folk Wolves. Well, this city is just entirely inaccessible, right? Yes. Okay, so we're going to take them, put them here for now. Yeah, we might as well do that. The 88s will probably end up flying out in a turn or two, but I'm going to need them to bomb that for now. Guess I gotta fly all of these out here still. Right, this. Okay, HQs. I think that's it, as far as I can tell so far. I should have some Panzer IVHs, or 4F2s, I think they are. Holy smokes, that is so many. Kill. Kill. I can have anyone do this. 3E. Kill that guy. Ah, dang it, I wanted to watch all the planes blow up. Oh, well. Okay. Well, that did exactly what I wanted it to, in terms, as far as movement is concerned. Bombard these. Cool. Any others go right here. Okay. And now let me grab another 4F2. And dead. Cool. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on our battles, because I want to see how this goes. We're probably going to lose this Panther. I am prepared for that. We should only have to break through one Wolverine. Oh, don't do this to me. Okay, I just wanted to injure the thing at least. Yeah, he died, but he hurt it. I was just worried he was going to roll in there and do nothing. Oh. Oh, well, that works. I kind of expected to use this against the Wolverine, and I wasn't even paying attention to what we were attacking. Okay. It wouldn't have mattered. Yes. Well done. Okay, if we fail to kill the Wolverine this go-around, it's going to level up. And then it's going to have more health. Awesome. Well done. 3 Gs. Coming in clutch forever. There we go. That's pretty nice to watch. Okay, we're going to have a lot of resistors in some of these cities. But fortunately, a lot of them, well, some of them at least, will be Mexican, so it makes it a little easier for us. Okay, get the Stug in there. I'm going to need to actually throw down my defenders at some of these places as soon as possible. Okay, that Stug is good. Let me get 2 of the Stugs here. Actually, I should be able to grab... not you. You. And then hopefully it goes to the Stug? No, it's not. Okay, so we're just off track now. Whatever. Unveil our HQs. Yeah, let's turn this back off. I should have a couple here at least. We're going to need all of them to be covered once this is done. Okay, I think that's all of them. They'll at least lessen the amount of work that our planes have to do. And actually, Folkwolf, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we definitely can't draw out whatever fighter's here. Let me double check on Mexico City and see if I can tell which kind it is. Okay, so it's not one of the big ones. Let me see here. Is there a way for me to figure out? It's a Wildcat, it looks like. Do they have others that look like that? 12 Thunderbolts left. That's it. Holy smokes, taking that city was huge. How many Mustangs? None! That was all their Mustangs. Okay. Okay, so here's the plan then. I'm just going to fly you in there. Draw out that fighter. He's probably going to shoot one of us down. Oh, right. He has a farther distance than that. Okay. There he is. Now we can bomb with impunity. I should have... That was probably unnecessary, but at least now I know. He might have just leveled up. That might have been dumb. Whatever, it's one fighter. Okay. It's going to take a couple of turns at least to reach Mexico City. Yeah, because all my guys... Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6... Yeah, I can get there and then attack, but we're probably going to take a turn to sort of reorganize ourselves and deal with the resistance that's within our borders. So first, we got to deal with this. These Stuarts are far too big of a problem to be left here. Oh, whoopsie. Actually, let me grab any other Dorniers. We'll just pull you here. Dang it. Didn't want to use you yet. Don't I have 88s back here? No. And not there either. I got a bunch in there, okay. I wasn't sure if the airbase was all 87Bs, but now that I'm thinking about it, it probably doesn't have any 87Bs. How are we failing so often? The defense on these guys isn't even that good, and they're just on a hill. 2, 3, 4. Okay. I might put some people there, just so that we can take out that next turn. Bunch of 1943s. Okay, I'm going to take the rest of these 88s and put them there. Yeah, let me... Okay, there we go. That should reset the stack. There's a chance these guys can survive with only 2 hit points, but against 87Bs with a 5 rate of fire, it's not very high. There we go. The rest of them are going to fly in here. How many 88s is this? A decent number? Probably not enough. Grab the other 87Bs. We'll bring them up too. How full up is this city? Because that is a lot of them. Okay, still plenty of room for some fighters and some defenders. And now I should hopefully be able to get to the bottom of this. Yep. We'll at least wound them all, keep them from getting any crazy ideas. We injured several of them on their way through. There's a lot of them. Who is this? Okay, that is injured. Who else still has 5? Another Canada? Okay. So everyone's down at 4 now. I'd like to force these guys onto a less comfortable position, too. I'll take a look at what I can do as far as encircling is concerned. There we go. So that's everyone down to... except for that guy. There we go. Now it's just cavalry that still have hit points, and I don't care about them. Yeah, I can't see that far. Okay, we're just going to move the rest in. How's this city look? A lot of people are in there. As far as Folkwolves go... this is... rebase. What? Oh, Shift R. I need to make sure we've got enough that we're still safe. Okay, I'm not too worried about Managua. They can bomb it. Now it's not nearly as important, though. We'll leave 1 Panzer Grenadier and 1 Infantry. The rest will probably end up moving anyway. Cool, so we'll go ahead and we will wake up this group. They don't have to be here anymore. I'm gonna leave probably a Stug, and likely I'll follow that up with a Panzer Grenadier after. I should do the same here, although it's a little less important. I'm worried about the HQs here more than anything else. Here, we can put that there. I'll just leave a buttload of German infantry. We're on a mountain, so they're... yeah, that should be enough. They're not going to have an easy time breaking through. Okay, that'll keep those safe. Okay, 3Gs should be completely fine. Nothing injured there, yeah. We're gonna go here, and you guys are just gonna start clearing stuff. Really? My word. Actually, I don't have 3 Es for this, yeah. Wow. These Stugs have taken a beating. It's possible they're all this injured, but it's hard to tell. Okay, if I take you guys, all of the 3Hs. Yeah, none of them are hurt. Okay. So send them all up there, and then there's my tank attack stack. I don't see the enemies attacking it. Okay, we are going to block that spot. This spot. And this one. because I've got 87 bees to finish these guys off. And now you can't really go anywhere. I wanted to leave this space open. It was dumb of me to not do that. They'll probably flee to there or something. So I should block it. Can I see the Stugs yet? Okay, yeah, they're all hurt. Alright. I don't know. Should I start killing him? The Matilda does have a 15 attack. I should definitely kill it, at least. You know what? I have this group. I have a massive army that's moving upwards. Yeah, we're just going to hit these guys. Okay, we're just going to double up on these stacks, specifically to make it harder for the enemy to attack us. Because they're going to bomb. I know they are, it's what they do. Yeah, we'll just pile onto there. Okay. A couple of former Mexican workers, we can put them up there. Let's just go ahead and snatch this one real quick. There we go. Okay, we will actually wake up these guys. They can get to there. Okay, so what else is injured in here? There's you, the Elite 4Fs, and then that's it. Oh, that one's already moved. Okay, so it looks like that's it then. We'll go ahead, bring this in. Along with a couple other Panzer Grenadiers. We'll just spread you guys out a little bit. Okay. And now all of the others, we just pile over there. Okay, so these guys, fly them in. I'll fly in any leftover Falk Wolves. I don't need that many over there. I do actually need more Stugs. Okay, so we finished up this one. This city can't actually use the area much. So I think that's about as improved as it's going to need. Yeah, Timbuktu is useless. We can do something up there, though. Okay. I think, yeah, we're good to move the remaining tanks. It's all the fast units. Cool. What's it? Huh? There. I must have clicked the wrong button. Alright, I'm feeling pretty good so far. Taking 5 cities in one turn. It has been a while since I've had a turn like that, and I forgot how it felt. And it's really good. Okay, I've already sent a guy to go deal with some of that. I'm gonna send you out there too. Get that cleaned up and then start putting down a road for the future. We're getting a little too much pollution out here for me to just leave these areas unroaded. Okay, the last forest is already being worked on there. That's it for this city. And only one left here is that forest, which they are improving, so we're good. You guys see, well, I imagine everyone has seen, there's all those riots going on in LA right now. We're talking real riots. The kind we haven't seen in a whole, like, 2 years. I saw a street interview with one of those morons, one of the people rioting, who actually tried to say they're trying to rise up with the American working class and build a better system that's more about equality. You go here, actually. And when asked, they were like, okay, so what kind of system is like that in the world right now? What place is better than what we have here? And they said, well, there isn't really one right now. We want there to be one. We want to make one. And he asked, okay, is there any particular country in the world that you could use as a model for that? Or we just kind of start from scratch? And the dummy actually responded with, well, the Soviet Union would be the closest thing. At least for the first 4 years. After that, it just got really bad. And you just have to be so inane, so brain dead, to not even hear what you're saying. Okay, he can go there. That's good to know. Okay, we're going to keep that guy here. We're going to keep them both there. To actually say, unironically, that you're trying to model a new civilization off of the Soviet Union. There's nothing else that can really be said to these people, right? You just don't know anything about history if you think there's anything positive at all, and I mean anything, about how the Soviet Union was run. And there's a lot of people who say, well, okay, the idea behind it was good. It just wasn't executed right because the people in charge were bad. And that is the reason that the idea wasn't good. You see, it's the same problem I have, I might have talked about this before, but it's the same problem I have with, like, corporate stuff, because I work in a big corporation. I work on a small retail store that's part of a big corporation. And, you know, anyone who has done that knows the stupid rules that corporations have about everything. You know, no matter what you do, corporation has something to say about it. And whatever the restriction they place on you is, it's always the least efficient thing it could be. Every time. And the reason for that, of course, is because they want the most profits possible with the least expenses. And ideally, that's done by following certain rules and restrictions and stuff. But the fact of the matter is, we don't live in an ideal world, right? So, ideally should never be a part of the equation. But these people get to their positions by living on those ideals, right? It's all they think about all the time. Ideally this, ideally that, and then that's how they build their rules. None of it's actually based on reality. It's all ideals, because it's the only thing they really have to make their decisions based off of. And so then all of their decisions end up being stupid, pointless, slowing everything down, inefficient, and ineffective. And then they can always blame the employee, right? They can say, well, you didn't follow this to the letter. And while that is true, they also shouldn't be expected to follow everything. Well, no, that isn't true. You can expect a singular employee to follow everything to the letter, right? And you can discipline them when they don't. You give them the rules, they choose not to follow them. Unless they just fail, in which case, you know, sometimes they have to be disciplined for that too, because you can't tolerate failure constantly. But that's neither here nor there. When you set up your whole system to be based around these ideals, right? Everything only works out in your company. You can only keep the doors open so long as everyone does what they're supposed to. Like the old German train system, like during World War II. Super efficient, got everywhere super fast, but it was like a microchip. A grain of sand falls into that thing and the whole thing fries because everything must be done perfectly. And if anyone doesn't do their job just right, the whole thing implodes. That's a bad system. No matter how elegant or in-depth it is, no matter how perfect it could be if everyone did their job perfectly. It's a bad system if it relies on everyone doing their job perfectly, because anyone who's lived in the world or knows anything about human nature will tell you immediately, people are going to screw things up. It's what they do. It's in their nature. You might not like that, but it's dumb to expect any different. It's brain dead, and it's going to do nothing but slow you down, and slow down anything that you're trying to do. Because you're expecting people to do stuff perfectly, and that's just never going to happen. And so, these people trying to say, well, the Soviet Union had a good idea, but it was bad in execution because the people in charge were evil, is both extremely arrogant, because you're saying you're not evil, which we all are. Some people may disagree with that sentiment, but you're wrong if you do. It's true that there are different degrees of human evil. There are. Some people are worse than other people in terms of the actions we commit. None of us are any less or more capable of evil than the others, though. We're all as capable of evil deeds as everyone else, because we're all humans. There's nothing that some of us are capable of doing and the others are not, just by our nature. So that means every single thing that we do should be done in that context, in the idea that people are evil, and if you give them the opportunity, they're going to take advantage of other people. Even if someone won't, right? Because not everyone has to. We all have the choice. So even if someone theoretically, let's say they are evil, yes, they're human, but they don't make a habit out of victimizing people, because there's a difference between just general, the kind of evil that everyone always does have, that no one's ever going to really beat. Oh, those just went in there. And the kind of evil... I keep having panthers show up there. And the kind of evil that exists to victimize people. So, as sort of an example of what I mean by that. Hold on just a second. Lying is an evil thing. I know some people might disagree with that being just a complete statement, an absolute. But I'm a Christian. I don't have any qualms about saying that. Lying is evil. Just on its face, it is a bad thing to do. It's corrupting the reality that God has created and trying to replace it with something that you want it to be. Right? He has created the world. The world has truth. It has objective reality. And lying is declaring that your version of reality is better than the one he made. It's extremely proud. It's destructive. He doesn't like it. And he told us not to do it. And since our Creator told us not to do it, anyone who does do it is engaging in evil. But it's not the same kind of evil as, the person who goes out and rapes someone. Because while it can cause harm, you are not explicitly damaging someone, like not guaranteed to be damaging someone through the use of a lie. Even though you could be damaging them. There's no guarantee of that, just on its face. So it's not quite as bad, in my eyes. And in all human eyes, really, right? Anyone who thinks evil's as bad as every other type of evil, or lying's as bad as every other type of evil, we'd all agree, is not really being reasonable or realistic. Lying is bad. It's not nearly as bad as some things. But we're all still evil. We're all still capable of doing bad things, and we're all going to do bad things sometimes. Like lying. Now, a proven fact of humanity is when you give them power, when you give people power, just by and large, they will more often than not be corrupted. It's not a guarantee. Some people are actually pretty good at holding their nature down and not letting it have its way. And I'm not just talking about Christians here. Christians are supposed to be the best at it, but, like all humans, we fail too. And the orders God gives us, we don't always do. Well, we definitely don't always do it. We're certainly not perfect about it. Oh, let me think here. And so, all of this is to say, socialism, for all of its vaunted greatness and freedom and the good things about it, is nothing more than tyranny. I know people don't like to hear that, but it's completely true. It is simply tyranny to give someone else complete control over, or to give anyone complete control over someone's life. Which is what socialism does. People pretend it doesn't, but in a socialism, the government tells you what you do, when you do it, how often you do it, what you get for it, and then what you're doing with the stuff that you get. It controls what you think, what you're allowed to say, who you're allowed to marry, everything, every aspect of human life. I mean, people often talk about 1984, the book, as sort of like the roadmap for how socialism always ends up working. It's kind of gotten a little overused, so people don't really listen to it that much anymore. I've read 1984. The reason that it's so chilling isn't just because it's sort of like this spooky dystopian universe kind of deal. It's because George Orwell saw the things that went on in 1984, not with the sort of technology, but the same restrictions on what you were allowed to think and say and do in every aspect of your life. The sort of horrifying, overbearing government that doesn't let you have any freedom. He saw that happening in Spain when he was there, by the Soviets. I think it was the Soviets. Yeah, during the Communist Revolution. They eventually failed in that revolution, I might add. But during the time of that revolution, he saw the things that he wrote in that book happening to people in the country. Because that's what socialism does. It is a complete authoritarian tyranny. Of the worst sort. Pure evil. And if you give someone that much power over another person's life, they're going to abuse it. Because they're human. What else are they going to do? What they should do? How often do people ever do what they're supposed to do? They don't do it. Wow. They didn't move on to the forest. That's fascinating. My plan might actually get pulled off then. We'll see. And so this crazy person is over there saying we need to model a new government off of the biggest failure in governmental history. And I don't mean biggest as in it failed more than any other government. There are plenty of other governments throughout all of human history that failed worse. Like they fell apart faster, more disastrously. They left nothing in their wake. The Soviet Union at least left Russia in its wake, right? And a bunch of other countries. There was something left. There are a lot of countries that fell apart and didn't even do that. So that's not what I mean. What I mean by biggest is it had all of this stuff in it, and that didn't matter. It had all of this going for it, and it fell apart regardless. Right? And on top of that, during the time it didn't fall apart, it was nothing but mayhem, strife, terror, murder, poverty, and death. There was nothing but that. Massive famines constantly. Anyone who dissented was sent to these horrid prisons out in Siberia where they were either forced to work to death. Whoa. Now, they are Shermans. They're pretty gutsy. Where they were either forced to work to death, or someone like Beria or Stalin would show up and torture you to death for entertainment. Or both. Like, really, just across the board, everything is bad about it. And you just have to be kind of a psychopath to want to bring that here, or anywhere. To look at that, ignore all the evil, and say, well, I liked certain things about it, right? We liked the first 4 years before the greedy people had the ability to do what they wanted to do. What else are they going to do? Not be evil and greedy? Obviously they're going to. That's what people do. It's what they are. So what this person is trying to say... That's weird. They're willing to attack Panzer Grenadiers more than regular Panzers. He's saying he wants a government that was like the Soviet, or that is like how the Soviet Union was before it had a chance to get going. When it was still basically the Tsardom, just with a few minor changes, right? Before the Soviets really got themselves ironed out and knew what they wanted. That's what it means to say you want the first 4 years of the Soviet Union. It means you don't want the Soviet Union. You want the things that Lenin said to get people on his side, but before he had a chance to enact any of his policies or beliefs. That's what that means. So it's just the most ridiculous and deceitful and evil thing to say. It's evil to want socialism in the first place, because what you're really doing is throwing aside the reality for your ideals and willing to sacrifice people in the process, right? We know socialism won't work, because it never has, and it never will. It's a bad system. By any metric. It's bad. It's just terrible. It's useless. It's a failure. Everything that's ever been tried regarding it has fallen apart completely. It's never succeeded. It's a failed state form of government that has only ever resulted in disaster, destruction, death, and loss. And poverty. Starvation, usually, too. So to want that, and someone can say, well, they want it because they're idealists, right? They see what it says, and that's what they want. No. No, you don't get to make that argument. If you look at the reality of something, or if you refuse to look at the reality, right? You're arguing for governmental change, and you don't even know the reality of what you're saying because you just care about the ideals, you're evil. You're so lazy that you won't even look into the reality, and you're willing to sacrifice people's lives, potentially, right? Because you may not know that people's lives are going to get sacrificed, guaranteed, but if you looked into it, into the history, then you would know that. So you're willing to sacrifice people's lives by neglect, simply because you're too lazy to actually look into the thing you want. And really, the reason most people want socialism is just because they're lazy. They want someone else to do their farming for them, right? This is the cry you hear from what they call the working class, which isn't really the entire working class. It's the lazy part of the working class, because a lot of our working class, while angry at our current state of economy in America, are not constantly whining about it and don't demand societal change. We might want a government policy to swap something, but we don't want, a massive societal shift into something that isn't capitalism, because anyone who wants that is, again, a lazy psychopath, and most of the working class simply isn't that. So to want socialism, what you really are is either very evil and tyrannical, and you want to be able to impose your will on other people, which some of them want, or you're so lazy that you want things without working for them, and you want other people, or you're willing to sacrifice other people's lives in the process to get it. Those are basically your two options. And anyone who tries to say, well, no, I want it because I like what it represents, well, what it represents isn't the reality, right? What the ideals say, those are lies. If I say, I want a more secure country by any means necessary, and what I actually mean by that, right, I could say, well, Germany was very secure from 1939 to 1942, prior to the invasion of, say, the Soviets or the Allies. If that's the case, well, then that's an evil thing to say, right? Because what I'm actually saying isn't that I want things more secure, even if that may be an end result that I'm in favor of. No, what that actually means is I want some ethnic purity, because ethnic purity always results in less unrest. Which is a fact. When you have nothing but a homogenous society, right, everyone of the same belief system, really, the more similarities you can get, the better. Belief system is one of them, and by that I mean general worldview. That usually ties directly into religion. Skin color is another one. It's not the only factor, but it is a thing that when everyone's the same, it causes less unrest. The more similarities in the general population, the less friction you're going to have, because people have less to disagree about or judge others based on without judging themselves. Skin color is the one people point at the most often, because the left talks about nothing but skin color, so it gets brought up all the time. But it's really not that much more significant. It's probably, I'd say, less significant than religious difference. Religious one is probably the biggest one, because religion is what shifts everyone's entire worldview. The skin color is definitely a big one. But as the left is so eager to point out, even though they exaggerate it, people of different skin colors have been in every society throughout all of history. They've never been a large majority in most other societies, right? You go to medieval Europe, you're not going to see a lot of black-skinned people, or dark-skinned, really, just in general. But you'll see some, and while they might face some prejudice, they are mostly fine, because that's just how humans are. The real difference, the thing that'll really cause some friction on that one, though, is if you have darker skin and you carry a pagan African religion with you into medieval Europe. Now you're going to have a bigger conflict, because it's really more about that religion than it is the skin color, although the skin color plays a role. So it's true that if you have a homogeneous society, it's more secure, right? So if I say I want a more secure society by any means necessary, that's an evil thing to say, because I'm willing to sacrifice people's lives for the sake of those statistics. Innocent people who've done nothing, but have different, either changeable or inchangeable features from myself, right? Like if I have darker skin, you can't change. Religion, you can. But either way, if someone just has a different one of those, and I know in the future it could cause a conflict, what I'm saying is, whatever I have, whatever my beliefs or immutable characteristics are, those are the best one, the top one. That's what we want to keep. And everything else, I'm willing to throw away. Right, I'm first declaring that what I have is the best, which, whether it's true or not, is very proud. And then I'm following that up with, any one of any difference needs to be eradicated by any means necessary. Now, I do believe in wanting a more secure society. That's not an evil thing to want. And to that end, there are certain changes, certain things that should not be tolerated in society. I'm not saying specifically legally, but we shouldn't tolerate socialism. People who want socialism, you should be socially outcast for that. You should be a pariah for wanting socialism in America. Like, you should be mocked, discouraged, thrown aside. No one should take you seriously, anything that you say at all, if you argue in favor of socialism. And that is because you are an absolute fool if you think it's better than any other type of government, really, because it's caused more destruction as far as governments go than any other governments on the planet. It hasn't led to more war, specifically. Well, maybe it has, but I don't know. World War II is pretty big. And well, socialism's definitely at play in World War II. It is not what caused it. So it's hard to say it caused more war, but it has caused more death. Because just between China and the Soviet Union, socialism starved hundreds of millions. More people than have ever been killed by any other single event in history. The biggest, death toll in all of human history was caused by the Soviet Union. No, not the Soviet Union, sorry. By Red China. And followed by the Soviet Union. And by percentages, the biggest by percent country massacre that's ever taken place was caused in Cambodia by Pol Pot, also a socialist tyrant. So, it's evil. It's destructive. It's caused more damage than any other type of government or belief system ever devised by mankind. The only other one that might come close, I'd say, is Islam. A lot of very, very, very destructive wars that have resulted in the murder of millions of innocent people. And also the loss of massive cultures. Islam probably has caused more of that sort of destruction than anything else. Or possibly. But it's hard to say for certain. There's a lot of research needs to be done there, and Islam destroyed most of the records of the people they conquered and didn't keep good ones of themselves. So it's difficult to get reliable information on that front. Regardless, socialism has caused untold levels of destruction, and that can't be rationally argued. As has Islam. But Islam's not specifically a form of government, so that one's I'm kind of leaving that out right now. But anyway, back to socialism. Back to really what this person said about socialism. So we've sort of established, right? It's extremely destructive, extremely evil, very proud, very damaging to everyone. If you want socialism in your country, if you want to have a socialist government, you either think you're better than those people who came before you. You think you're better than Stalin. And I'm just going to throw this out there. You might not be out to hurt people like he was, because he was out to hurt people. He was an evil, vicious, destructive man. You might not be out to hurt people like he was. You are not better than him. Stalin is one of the most destructive humans ever. He's no more evil than anyone else. He's just as bad as me or you or anyone you can name. The only one who's better is the Lord Jesus Christ. He's the only one. Right? Again, didn't cause as much destruction. You're not as victimizing as Stalin. You don't make a habit out of hurting people, but you're just as evil. You have just as much capability to do damage. And if you're put into that position, you probably will cause untold damage. Now, you might cause a lot. You might not, right? You might use your power well. But you gotta be pretty narcissistic to think that. I'm a supporter of Trump as president. I don't like everything he does, but I've said it before. I like him as a president. But it'd be absolutely false to claim that he is not a narcissist. Same thing with Elon Musk. I like Elon. I like a lot of his beliefs. Not all of them. He was left for a while he was a Democrat, and he voted Democrat for a very long time because he believes in most of their beliefs, which I absolutely do not. But I like a lot of things about him. I like his work ethic. I like his desire to move humanity forward. Whether that is actually good or not remains to be seen, like the results of that sort of belief. But I like the idea, at least, that he wants humanity to progress and not regress. That's a good idea. That's a good thing. So there are some things I like about him, but he's also a raging narcissist. He doesn't just want humanity to progress alone. That's not his only desire. He wants to progress humanity, right? Now, in fairness, he's taken more concrete steps to do a lot of very impressive scientific things. A lot more steps than most people I've ever seen or heard of. It's very impressive what he has accomplished. So if anyone can sort of lay claim to that desire, can say, well, I think I'm the only one who can do these things. He's the only one who I could fairly say has sort of a reasonable claim to that, but also, I'm a Christian, I know that people, while God gifts some people with certain capability, again, you gotta be a narcissist to believe you're the chosen one. And some of these people do. But it's the same idea with socialism. If you think you can be given unilateral authority over everyone's lives, and that you'll use that authority right, then you're a narcissist. If you trust someone else with that power, you're an idiot. And to be a socialist, to argue for that, you must be one of those two things. Either you think you're better than everyone, or you want the power because you intend to abuse it. Either one of those is very evil. Or you think that someone else you're fighting for is better than everyone. And you're an idolizing moron if you think that, because no one is. So, everything about supporting socialism, pure evil. Nothing but destruction, nothing but chaos, nothing but starvation and death, devastation. They helped get rid of Germany, get rid of the Nazis, which, bully for them. They're not any better than the Nazis. Just going to throw that out there. The only reason we allied with them is because Russia wasn't trying to kill us, or the USSR wasn't trying to kill us at the time. That was it. That's the only difference. I mean, everyone expected us to go to war right afterwards. Everyone was just so beaten down by it that they decided not to. I can tell you, Stalin certainly, he wouldn't balk at that. He'd like to take America. He might not have thought he was capable, because, he wasn't. Soviet Union was powerful. It wasn't that powerful. But they could have caused a lot of destruction if they wanted to. But they didn't. Again, not because they're better, not because they're less evil than the Nazis, because they weren't. If anything, they were more evil. But they're probably pretty close to the same. The Soviets were racists too. It wasn't their whole thing. They weren't all about racism. They definitely did not like other ethnicities, and they certainly hated any sort of religious beliefs other than evolution, which, yes, is a religious belief, and I will die on that hill. Yeah, they definitely... Socialism was the only acceptable belief in their country. But they weren't as big on ethnic persecution, although they did do it to an extent. They didn't do it as bad as the Nazis. But we're in this sort of state now in our world. That's a lot more infantry than I thought he had. We're in this weird state in our country now where we think, for some reason, people as a majority seem to think, that ethnic purity is the most evil ideology on the planet. And while it is a deeply evil, destructive, and stupid ideology, and it is not the most evil alone. You could say that it's up at the top level, right? It's as evil as it can get. You could make that argument. To say it's the most evil, though, that it is somehow more evil than just wanting absolute control of your neighbors' lives, well, it's no more evil than that. Because what that'll end up resulting in is whoever has control of everyone's lives will just take whatever they want, throw any dissenters aside, or maybe just kill them. It'll cause just as much, if not more, destruction. Just as much. And it's just as evil, right? You have your belief system, and you think you have a right to kill people who disagree with it. I know, me saying that as a Christian, a lot of people say, well, you're a hypocrite, because that's what the Crusades were. And that's, to an extent, kind of true, but to another extent, not true. The Crusades were also, reciprocal response to Muslim invasion, because the Arabs that were pouring in from all directions would have laid waste to all of Europe. And the Catholic Church stepped up to stop it because they're the only ones that could. I'm not a Catholic. I don't like Catholics. I don't like almost anything they've ever done. There's about two, maybe three things that Catholicism has ever done that I'm like, yeah, good job. The Crusades are one of them. And not because they had a right to the Holy Land or because they were prosecuting people that didn't believe, or persecuting people that didn't believe what they did. They killed my people, too, for not believing what they did. I don't support that. So it's not that idea that I agree with. And my people, Baptists, through many, or under many names throughout all of history, we never persecuted anyone. That's never been what independent Baptists have done. We've always been the victims, if anything. Sometimes we're tolerated. We are in America for the most part now. A lot of people don't like us, but we're tolerated. And that's good enough for me. It lets us get our point across. But the Catholics did a lot of terrible things. They're definitely better than Islam, which is sort of a crazy thing to say. I don't think Catholicism is any worse. Maybe a little not as bad, but probably on the same level as Buddhism and Hinduism. Both of which, I know people don't like to admit it either, but caused a lot of death and destruction. There have been a lot of wars based around those things. In fact, they massacred a lot of my people in Asia because the Apostle Thomas founded a bunch of churches in Asia. And they were wiped out by the Hindus and the Buddhists. So, they're probably about just as bad as the Catholic Church, as any organized pagan religion is. But, man, American cities look weird. Never noticed that before. But Islam is worse. And so, I'm on board with the Catholic Church in those crusades because it sort of stepped on Islam's power and cut them off at the knees in a lot of situations. That's a good thing. The less of Islam there is in the world, the better. That doesn't mean I advocate for the massacre of Muslims, because I don't. I want to see Muslims saved. I want to see them repent of their sins and get saved. Like I am. That's what I want. But I want that for everyone, not just Muslims. But the Muslim nations, right, the ones that make a habit out of invading their neighbors and slaughtering anyone who doesn't believe in their genuinely stupid religion, we got to stop that. Like we got to destroy those societies by any means necessary. They're deeply regressive, deeply destructive. They will kill anyone that disagrees with them. I don't like the people would say the LGBT community, but really just sexual perversion, because I include adulterers in that too. Or adultery, really. And people, or the idea of fornication, just, having sex outside of marriage. Same scale for me. Those things are just as sinful as homosexuality. They're not as damaging. Well, that's not true. Adultery is just as damaging, if not more so. But standard fornication may not be as damaging, but it is just as sinful. It's just as bad, and so I disagree with that just as much. It's just we don't have... No, that isn't true. We got about just as much fornication claims going on. Yeah, well, I pose that one too. At least you don't see adulterers trying to get you to accept their nonsense. But I've got just as big a problem with the LGBT community as I do with the people who believe in casual sex as a good thing to have. The modern dating culture people, the ones who defend it, I've got just as big a problem with them. Because it's the same thing, pretty much, and it's just as bad. It's not quite as unnatural as homosexuality, but it is just as destructive, or close to it at least. And it's just as sinful. But I don't advocate for the harming of those people, or those acts. I don't advocate, those people get hurt. Because I'm not a Catholic, and that's how Catholics often feel about it. Maybe not in America so much because of the culture here, but according to Catholic dogma, I mean, that is pretty much the belief system. And I'm not that. I don't believe that we should be harming people based on those things, because the Bible explicitly tells you not to in the New Testament. And as a church member, I believe in the New Testament. They're in the modern age. That's why their buildings changed. Okay. So they have the last of their scientific achievements. Ooh, they have Pershings. That's what that means. I gotta check that. Any Pershings? Now I have to watch out. I've never seen Pershings before. Kind of worried. They're probably going to start building them in a couple turns. Anyway, I've gotten, I think, pretty off topic. Boil it down. The people who are rioting and say they want to build a better government based around socialism, you're evil and you're stupid. one or both of those things are true about you if you're in that group. You have to be an inane moron if you want socialism. One who knows nothing about history or really the current state of the world. No socialism has ever succeeded. None of them. And if you are modeling a new government off of the first 4 years of a state that ended up failing and that existed for decades, you know, in just horrible states, and you're going to say, well, the first 4 years were okay. No, the first 4 years led to the rest. If you liked the first 4 years and not the rest, you don't get to take that and throw the rest out. That's not how it works. You have to look at the root cause, and the root cause of the USSR's problems was not just some ideological shift that came out of nowhere, or that was orchestrated or anything. No. The root cause was the government itself, because that's what causes that sort of thing. So, that's going to be it for this one. If you haven't yet, please check the link in the description for my book. If you like the look of it, give it a read, and if you like the read, give it a positive review. Otherwise, thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next one.